talking about the killer crocodile movie Primeval, also known as Primeval Kill. This one is directed by Michael Cattleman and stars Dominic, Purcell and Orlando Jones. Now, just to make clear, you know what we're talking about here, there was also a Primeval TV show that came out in 2007, the same year as this, which is to do with dinosaurs. Nothing to do with this. Also, which may add some more confusion, the other killer crocodile movie, Rogue, also came out in 2007. So, lots of kind of confusion maybe with this one. So Primeval is actually based on a famous real-life crocodile called Gustave. Now, Gustave is a huge crocodile that has reportedly killed up to 300 people in real life. And there was a real attempt to capture Gustave alive. And this is what this movie is based off. It does incorporate that kind of storyline, but it does add some extra elements as well. So it's a good example of based off real events, but does add a lot more to it to make it more of a thrilling movie. So what is the story? We focus on a group of reporters as they are trying to capture Gustave, as they did in real life, and they are joined by a kind of a Steve Irwin crocodile hunter type character, a local guide played by Jürgen Prochnow, and they are in this African country which is war torn. They're in a constant state of civil war, so it's a very kind of dangerous situation even outside of the crocodile. And they are there to try and essentially remove this creature from the equation. And the idea being, it will help everyone really, because no one really wants this crocodile there. And obviously this crocodile is somewhat elusive. It seems to be a little bit smarter than your run-of-the-mill crocodile. And add to that, we have the added element of a local warlord who's named himself Little Gustave, who doesn't want these people here as they may have seen something they shouldn't have done. So let's talk about what works first of all with Primeval. Obviously, it's fascinating in the fact this creature, or this Gustave in the real life, is a real thing and has reportedly killed that many people. It's a scary thought. Now, having doing this review and recording this in 2020, apparently in 2019, Gustave for real was actually killed in real life. Apparently. I mean, I can only base this what I read on the internet, so I don't know if it's true, but there you go. You know, this was the legend of Gustave has maybe come to an end. But anyway, this one being filmed in 2007, it adds the extra element of intrigue because you know that there is this creature here, and you know that he has reportedly killed such a kind of a large portion of the local populace. And I think one of the film's benefits is we do get a good look at the kind of the local kind of population, and we are introduced to a couple of kind of more local characters and things like that who have roles in the film. And I actually kind of quite like this, the role of the kind of like the more local people in the movie, which I thought was quite good. And you actually feel like maybe you're learning a little bit about the culture, for example. Dominic Purcell they're trying to lift this big cage, and he's trying to help them, and then it's like pulling them away, saying no, let them do it because they want the job. If you take their place, you're kind of taking the job away from someone else. Things like this. I thought it was some quite little neat touches. I actually quite like Orlando Jones in this movie. I actually first was exposed to Orlando Jones in, I think, the Evolution movie, and he's quite funny in that, and he's also very funny in this, and has some kind of quite funny lines here. But I still feel he didn't seem out of place. He was just a kind of like a jokey character, and I quite enjoyed some of his kind of like when he's talking to himself. There's a line in the movie, for example, that I found quite funny because he absolutely hates Africa. He's getting attacked by not only the crocodile but snakes, leeches, obviously the kind of like the local kind of warlord, and he's on his own and he's kind of saying, oh, you know what, slavery was a good thing, anything to get out of this country, things like that. It was a kind of a couple of funny lines here and there, stuff like that. So I quite enjoyed that. There are also some quite fun set pieces involving the crocodile, obviously very kind of dangerous animal here. And, you know, we do see some nice cinematography. There's some kind of nice wide-angle shots here and there. We sort of see the, you know, the African wilderness and things like that. I think it's, you know, does look, you know, very kind of goes on forever almost. So you kind of get the feeling you're stuck out in the middle of nowhere, which I thought was quite good. Okay, but let's maybe talk about what works. Dominic Purcell, he's a very B-movie actor, to be honest with you. And it comes across here... you know, he's done a lot of TV. I didn't mind him in there. He's not necessarily bad, but I felt he's somewhat just kind of generic. He's very much feels like a generic character with no real defining traits. You know, Orlando Jones is the kind of the funny man. We have you know, the Steve Irwin type who just seems to kind of want to do this for his career. Jürgen Proch now has his kind of personal reasons, and we have this female reporter who just seems very tenacious, but Dominic Purcell's character doesn't really seem to have any real defining character traits here. He's just very vanilla. The effects here... Now, well, the interesting thing with this movie, we don't really get a proper crocodile encounter until halfway through the movie. We see a little, you know, a couple of instances where we see little short ones before it really comes into contact with our main characters. But I have to be honest with you, if you are looking this compared to Rogue, which came out the same year, Rogue is by far and away a superior movie. I think the tension in Rogue is it's so much better than this one. You never really feel a massive sense of tension in this movie. I also think the movie is desperate to save money on effects. I feel this is why so much time is devoted to the human enemies here. Now, you could say there is socio-political commentary, and there is a degree of that, about how maybe people don't care what's happening in Africa and things like this, even though there's all these atrocities, which is, you know, it's a worthwhile thing to bring up. But we spend a lot of time with these kind of like these warlords and these kind of men, and you get the impression that this is to save money on having effect shots and things like this. Also, the effects when we do see Gustave, I don't think are particularly impressive. Now, they're not as bad as your movie of the week on the Sci-Fi Channel, but to be honest with you, again, you compare it to Rogue, which came out the same year, it looks nowhere near as good as that. And they also try to obscure the Gustave in a lot of darkness. Most of the scenes where it involves him are in the night, so you can kind of hide the CGI. And there's some really choppy editing as well, especially in the kind of the action set pieces here. And again, I suspect this is all to kind of like to hide the budget. So it seems to me that they wanted to make a crocodile movie, but really wanted to have the crocodile on screen for the least amount of time possible, because it's too expensive. And when you can see, when we do get our good shots of him, it really doesn't look that impressive, if I'm honest. And there are instances where you think it looks kind of almost misshapen at certain times. So I don't think that the crocodile is very impressive. The story is, you know, it's okay, but like I've said, you feel that they're kind of treading water a little bit, I have to be honest. The characters, you know, I said they're a bit of a mixed bag. So overall, this stands out to be not a particularly memorable film. I wouldn't say it's a bad film, to be honest with you. It's still quite watchable, and I still feel you can enjoy it. There are quite a few attacks and things like that, but I don't think it has that wow factor that the other Crocodile of the year, Rogue, had, really, which was really a pretty damn good movie in comparison. This one just seems fated to be compared to that film, I think, to be honest. And I feel Rogue does pretty much everything better than this film, but it's not necessarily a bad movie. It's just pretty average. So we'll call it an average mark. We'll give it a 5 out of 10. Have you seen it? What did you think? Leave me a comment, and I shall look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.